welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing fall breads. I am so excited about trying some of these. I have some apple breads, some pumpkin breads, some spiced breads, just all over the realm, and we're gonna enjoy all of them, hopefully. This first recipe is actually an apple cinnamon quick bread. Now, quick note, I don't have applesauce. I thought I did, it molded, so I do not have it. But I looked up some alternatives and said I could just puree some apples, so that's what I'm going to do. So for this recipe, you do actually have to take several things out of the fridge so they come to room temperature: the butter, 2 eggs, milk, applesauce. So I did go ahead and pull all of that out earlier. I think the way I'm gonna do it is go ahead and do the apple filling, because you do like a layer of the dough, a layer of the apples, and another layer of the dough. So I think I'm gonna do the apples really quickly, have that done, and then also I can go ahead and get my apples pureeing for the applesauce. I may add a little bit more spices just because applesauce usually does have like a little bit of a spice to it. We'll see, we'll play with it as I go. So this recipe calls for 180 grams of apples, and this recipe is in grams. Love it. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this up, and I do have several different apples. I actually like a really sour and tart apple. Comment below what you find to be the best apple to use in baking and things like that. I'd be interested to know. And to be quite honest with you, I don't know what kind of apples these are. It just is what it is. So they were in my fridge, and that's what we're going with. I don't think the recipe said what kind to use. I think it just says, yeah, it just says 180 grams of chopped apples. I actually really like apple, breads and stuff like that. I honestly may prefer it more than pumpkin if I really think about it. I'm a big fan of apple pies, apple tarts, apple dumplings. I like all that stuff. So I may just in general prefer apple stuff. All right, this should be pretty close. Let's see, 183, we'll stop there. So that'll be that, and then I need 80 grams to puree, so let's see. Oops, did not zero it out. I'm not gonna worry about it being super small since we're pureeing it. I don't need it to be exact. There we go, perfect. And I will just eat the rest of this. These North Carolina apples, oh, so good. All right, so now it calls for 67 grams of brown sugar. Oh, that's gonna be, I always feel like, oh, 67, that doesn't look like a lot. It's always so much more sugar than I think it's going to be. I might stop at 55. Yeah, we'll go 55. Maybe 57 is what we'll do. Even 60. We'll just do an even 60. And then 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon. This is a half, so 1, 2, 3. There we go. While I stir this, I do have the oven preheating to 350. Okay, everything's nicely coated, so we'll just sit this to the side. And next it wants you to cream together the butter and the sugar. I usually use my glass bowl, but I have to figure it out. The whisk doesn't go all the way down to the bottom, so it's really hard to cream things in it. I know there's a knob inside the KitchenAid that you can twist, and it's supposed to lower it. I haven't been able to figure it out. I need to just take the time to sit down and look at it and actually do it so that these attachments will work inside my glass bowl. All right, we're just going to whip 113 grams of room temperature butter with 150 grams of granulated sugar. It says for about 3 minutes. Okay, now I'm just going to scrape down the sides and add the 2 eggs. Okay. Now it says after you do that you're gonna add the applesauce and vanilla, and it's going to look curdled. And that is a quote from the recipe. I don't know why that seems so gross, but that is what it said it's going to be, curdled. So that's to be expected. Okay, so for my applesauce, oh, that doesn't smell bad. I added a little bit of the milk just so that it would actually puree. So I'm just gonna add that in there. Okay, let me get the vanilla. I just wanna show you what this is looking like. Curdled is a great way to put it. So, yum. I'm sure it'll taste great. Just looks really gross at this point. Now to get all the dry ingredients together. I did go ahead and get all the spices together, so I'll just be able to pour that in. But I am going to do freshly milled flour for this, so I'm just going to use soft white wheat since this is a quick bread. All right, I'm just going to do 219 grams of soft white wheat. 220 actually. Okay, so it says the batter is going to be a little bit chunky, but that you don't want to over mix it. That's really important. So I'm just going to scrape down the sides really, really quickly, and then I'm going to pour the milk in slowly. That is what it says. And then we're just going to do this really, really slowly. Here it is. It looks good and thick. It smells amazing. It smells so good. I'm just gonna let this sit for about 10-15 minutes while I get the pan ready and let the freshly milled flour kind of absorb some of that moisture. When I'm putting parchment paper into a pan, I like to use another pan to just make the shape really, really good. All right, so we're just gonna pour half of this batter in here. That's probably about half. And it says it's gonna be a really thick batter, and it is. Okay, spread that out. It's almost fluffed, like a whipped batter. I'm gonna put a little bit more in here. Then it wants you to spoon in the apples. You know what? We're gonna add some walnuts or pecans to this. It just is calling for it. And I'm gonna leave them kind of big. I'm not super worried about them being super small because it's not really needing to be throughout the batter. It's really just in this inner layer. Yeah. All right, we're just gonna put the rest of this batter on top. And then it says to take a knife and kind of swirl the top. So we'll do that. And then I'm gonna cover it with tin foil and put it in the oven. It actually cooks for 60 to 70 minutes. But it said to put tin foil on it for the first 30 minutes so that it doesn't burn on top. Now we're gonna swirl, swirl, swirl. I'm assuming this is what it means. That looks good. Tin foil on loosely, and in the oven we go. See you in 60 to 70 minutes. You may hear my dishwasher in the background, but I wanted to go ahead and take the tin foil off. Oh, as you can see, it is still needs to bake on the top. So I'm going to let this finish up and we will come and take it out here shortly. I wanted to go ahead and check this because it's got quite the strong smell in the house. So, oh yeah, it is coming out clean. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull it out. I hate when that happens, but it is what it is. Yum. All right, I'm gonna let this cool a minute, get it on a cooling rack, and then we will slice it in maybe 20-30 minutes. Okay, here it is. So you can see the apple cinnamon layer in the bread. It's definitely there and it does break apart. Maybe once it cools more, it will stick together a little bit better, but I'm going to taste it really quickly. This is delicious. I do think I could have added some more spices. It's not super sweet, and the pecans, legit choice. Definitely add the pecans to it if you can, if you don't have a nut allergy. Wow. Very, very, very good. I actually think it would be really delicious toasted with a scoop of vanilla ice cream. Sounds weird with bread, but it just is kind of the vibe I'm getting. So definitely think I could up the spices a little bit. I think I would add a little salt in the apple sugar inner layer mixture. Wow. Very, very fall. Very, very, very delicious. For the next fall bread, I'm actually doing a spiced bread in the bread machine. It was super early that morning, like 6:30, and I just wanted to get it quickly made because I actually wanted to make French toast for breakfast. So I basically was using apple cider instead of water. I'm doing everything the same as my normal bread, just adding a little bit more honey, and then I'm also going to add some cinnamon, nutmeg, and ginger to just, like I said, my normal bread recipe. I wasn't really following a specific recipe. I just thought that I could probably add some of these spices and do some, just a couple swaps to make this regular bread recipe into something more like a spiced bread. I have to say the bread turned out delicious. I felt like it was like the perfect amount of spice, like you could taste it, and the spices were there, but they were not overwhelming at all. And I actually ended up eating this just as toast with some apple butter and honey. It was amazing. It was just that little bit something extra that you could taste in the bread, with the toast. But as you'll see coming up, it worked in French toast perfectly as well. Now I did add a little bit of my sourdough starter discard like I usually do. I don't change my yeast ratio. I don't use it, for sourdough purposes. I just literally put it in there to get a little bit of added benefit. Once the bread had baked and cooled, I went ahead and sliced it into semi-thick slices. I tested my eggs and went ahead and made my French toast mixture. And I do want to show you this egg crate that I leave in my fridge. I only had 5 eggs, and then I went to, obviously, the market later to get more. But it holds, if you put them in the middle like this, you actually can hold like 3 dozen eggs. But it is wonderful to keep your eggs organized and to kind of see how many you have. And I really, really enjoy it. I just got off of Amazon, and it's one of my favorite things for organizing in my fridge. But anyway, I don't really have a recipe for my French toast mixture. I just kind of put what I'm feeling. For this, there were 5 eggs. I did a splash of vanilla, a little bit of sugar, some salt, some cinnamon, and then I just mixed all of that up. Did I say a splash of milk? There's also a splash of milk, if I didn't say it. And then you just put the pieces of bread into the French toast mixture, and then you're literally just going to griddle it. And eventually I am going to get a carbon steel griddle. Right now this is what I have, and it works perfectly fine. And I do tend to add a little bit more cinnamon as we go, because I feel like it doesn't, like as the toast soaks up the mixture, some of the cinnamon gets stuck. You just need a little bit more. As you can see, I did not have enough mixture because I only had 5 eggs at this time to do the rest of the bread, and that was fine. We just used what we had at the time. But I thought that the actual toast turned out great with the French toast. But overall, it turned out really, really good. I will say, it's harder with the whole wheat breads than like a soft white wheat when you're doing French toast, I feel like, because it just broke a little bit more. I don't mind that because I'm not, trying to sell my French toast at a restaurant. And I do like to caramelize the sides a little bit, as you see here. If you don't want that whole wheat taste, I would say to make the bread with more bread flour or all-purpose flour, instead of freshly milled flour, because it is going to have that thicker bread taste. It's just a little bit more crumbly when it soaks everything up. But it does absorb it really, really well. So for me, I don't mind it at all, but I did want to note it is different than like French toast with white bread. Okay, we are back, and probably the recipe I'm most interested in is going to be these pumpkin Parmesan bread rolls. I wanted to find something savory with pumpkin for the fall breads, and I came across these. never had them before. I don't know. The pumpkin things, most of them have been good, but all I can think about is that pumpkin soup and how it was not good. So I just wonder if these are gonna be good or not. We're gonna see. So I did go ahead and pull a bunch of the items out. 240 grams of canned pumpkin puree, 20 grams of baking powder, 60 grams of Parmesan cheese plus 2 tablespoons. I still have to grate that. Then 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of dried rosemary, and I use fresh rosemary out of my garden. It calls for half a teaspoon of oregano and half a teaspoon of thyme. I just used a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. Then we have 4 eggs that we'll lightly beat along with 2 tablespoons of milk. And I'm gonna do a half freshly milled flour, half all-purpose flour. It calls for 380 grams. So I'll probably do like 200 of freshly milled flour, and I think I'm gonna use spelt because it just has like that buttery smell, and I think it'll go well with this. And then 180 grams of all-purpose flour. So this recipe is kind of specific. It says in a big bowl we're gonna combine everything, but then it specifically says to add the eggs and the milk and mix with a wooden spoon. So we are going to do that. I have the oven preheating to 350 currently, and I'm just gonna start putting this stuff in the bowl. And this is my large bowl, my Mason Cash bowl. I got these from King Arthur. I guess this one is, oh yeah, this one is like the, oh gosh, what is it called? The Forest, I think? I think it's the Forest for this one, but I actually have the Farm for my other ones. I'll try to show them. I love these bowls. My mom has a bunch of Mason Cash bowls, and it's kind of what got me into Mason Cash. They're just great bowls. Honestly, I should use them more than I do because they're just fantastic mixing bowls. It's actually the brand that they use on, if you watch Great British Bake Off or whatever that show is, they use Mason Cash. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and add my baking powder to this, and then my rosemary, salt, and Italian seasonings. I'm just gonna mix this up, and then I'm going to go ahead and go do the flour. Actually, that's not true. I'm gonna go ahead and do the cheese and the eggs because the flour is the last thing I wanna do. And I need to get a wooden spoon. And I hope I didn't mess this up because I definitely put the baking powder in here and it is a bubbling. So we're gonna go ahead and do this flour very, very quickly. This is another Mason Cash Forest bowl. And then this is the farm. Little pigs on the farm. Very cute, little sunset. And this bowl is actually the whole reason I wanted the farm because I grew up loving horses and this one has horses on it. So my absolute favorite. I'm gonna quickly do 200 grams of spelt. And I may need to add a little extra milk if it's, you know, if this makes it too dry. 200 grams of freshly milled flour. Go ahead and get my wooden spoon. Okay, and now I need to add 180 grams of all-purpose flour. Okay, it is super dry right now, so I think it's time to probably start adding in egg and the milk. Like I said, I may have to add a little bit extra milk since I used some spelt. We'll just see. It says the dough will be quite wet, so yeah. I'm definitely going to be looking for... Oh, these are Mason Cash also. They're the little, I don't even know what you call them, ramekins that you can buy. I got these off of Amazon, I think. I didn't know this was going to turn into me showing off all the Mason Cash. But it is great stuff. This is not Pampered Chef. Wonder why I needed a wooden spoon with this. I'm scared I'm going to crack my spoon. It's kind of tough dough. It's like really tough. I think I am gonna add just a splash more water, or not more water, I'm gonna add a splash of water. I don't really wanna add more milk, so I'm just gonna add about a tablespoon of water. All right, now let's do the cheese. I actually meant to do the cheese a little bit earlier. Literally set it, and then I didn't do it. So let that zero out, get this onto the granite. It has like a suction cup. There we go. Okay. We're looking for 60 grams of Parmesan. This thing makes cheese grating so convenient. Let's see how much that is. 51, so close. I'm okay if I go a little extra on cheese. 58, I'm gonna put all this in there because you actually need 2 extra tablespoons. So let's see if that's 60, 62, we're fine with that. So the recipe actually says to sprinkle 1/4 of a cup. This is everything that I was supposed to grade. So I'm only gonna do half of this in there to mix up. And then I think it's just calling for the rest of it to be sprinkled on top. Okay, I'm gonna get this mixed up. I did let it sit just a minute for the freshly milled flour to kind of absorb some of the liquid. It says to lightly flour your hands, but I don't know that I really need to. I think I'm gonna do this kind of like drop style, and just whatever it makes, it makes. Yeah, that looks nice. Yeah, so I'm just gonna kind of lightly shape it. To make kind of look like, to be honest, the picture reminds me a little bit of the Cheddar Bay biscuits from Red Lobster. I can eat so many of those. But that's kind of what these remind me of. So that's kind of the style I'm going to do. It is a very wet and sticky dough for sure. All right, I'm gonna put a generous amount of Parmesan on the top. Okay, into the oven we go. I'm gonna do maybe like 12 minutes this way, and then I'm going to flip-flop them for the extra 12 minutes. All right, I think I'm gonna finish a couple of them off with this Jacobsen's rosemary salt. It's just a finishing salt, so I think I'm gonna just do the few over here with this and just see if it adds to it. So these turned out really, really good. They did have like almost that Red Lobster Cheddar Bay biscuit feel to them, but without like the extra butter and spices. Now I think you could put that on top of these and they would be a pretty decent dupe for that. However, I will say that these kind of left you just wanting to go to Red Lobster and get those biscuits. So I think it was really good, and I definitely think adding the salt at the end made a big difference. I think next time I would add a little bit more salt to the batter just in general, and maybe even a little bit more liquid to the batter, especially I guess since I used freshly milled flour. But overall they were good. I don't know, I felt like they left you wanting to go to Red Lobster. But if you want to do them at home and make a dupe for Red Lobster, this is a really, really good start. I really think all you'd have to do is just melt a little bit of butter with maybe some like garlic or whatever the spices are that they put on those, and put a little bit of that on top, and they probably would be 9 out of 10. Like, they were good. You just felt like they were missing just a little something. I don't know how to explain. However, overall, definitely think they are worth trying, especially if you're looking for a healthier version of a Cheddar Bay biscuit from Red Lobster.